tenacity.
Thank you, Senator Smith. Senator Paterson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy President. Madam President, I rise to pay tribute to Peter Reith as a values-driven reformer and a great Victorian Liberal. And in doing so, I want to associate myself with the remarks of other senators, in particular my coalition Senate colleagues. Like many, I was the beneficiary of Peter's wisdom, his advice and his mentorship. And what I admired most about Peter is that he did not view reform as a technocratic exercise or a process of bland consensus building. He believed it was an opportunity to put Liberal values into action. For him, those Liberal values were the dignity of individuals and the power of free markets, and he looked for every opportunity to be bold in implementing them in government. Fight Back, of which he was the principal author and intellectual driver, is of course historically judged as a political failure because of the way in which it contributed to the Liberal Party's loss in the unlosable 1993 election. But viewed with the benefit of time, it is undoubtedly and unquestionably a policy success. Its agenda for the GST, industrial relations, privatisation and tariff reduction were all ultimately implemented by the Howard government and largely remain intact today. In fact, the only undealt with element of Fight Back which remains to be considered by future parliaments is his view that we should introduce a more user-pays system in the public health system. I think it is very timely for us as Liberals to reflect on Peter's legacy now as we find ourselves in opposition. Peter is someone who used his time to reflect and think deeply about what we should do if and when we were returned to government, ultimately in 1996. I think it's one of the key reasons why the Howard government was so effective when it finally returned to office. We should be very proud if we can use our time in opposition now as productively as Peter Reith did in the 1980s and 1990s. He also distinguished himself in that time in opposition, leading the campaign on behalf of the coalition against the then Labor government's ill-judged and poorly thought out 1988 referendum proposals to change the constitution. My thoughts today are with his wife, his 4 sons, his many grandchildren, and particularly his brother Sandy and his sister Janet, who I am very proud to call friends. We have lost a great Victorian Liberal.
Thank you, Senator Paterson.